Bitcoin is interesting because there's only a certain amount of Bitcoins that will ever be in existence. And there are other types of cryptocurrencies that work like that, where there's a fixed model and the coin can become worth more, but the actual, the way that Bitcoin works is structured more in a way than cash or the stock market. Have you thought about mimetic desire and the recent rise of cryptocurrencies within the last decade and how those play off each other?
Yeah, I think if Rene Girard were alive today, he died in 2015, he'd probably say that the most mimetic institution is not the stock market, it's the cryptocurrency market. I think he would probably update his line there. So yeah, I think that crypto in general is like hyper mimetic. And I mean, I follow it not as closely as I'd like to, but I have given some thought to that. And I mean, at the risk of pissing off every Bitcoiner and Bitcoin maximalist out there, I think that there are some positive aspects to the cap on the number of Bitcoins that can ever be mined and will ever exist. Because I think that the way that we print money right now through central banks is super problematic. And so I'm all for that. I will say this though, from the standpoint of mimetic theory, it seems that the fixed quantity would exacerbate mimetic rivalry because there's only a fixed amount. So like, in a sense, one of the things that capitalism does and being able to create more money does is it kind of like diffuses mimetic desire, if that makes sense, because you can print more. So I think Bitcoin maybe, I'm not necessarily making this prediction, but there might come a time when there's like some serious like Bitcoin wars going on because there's a fixed amount, and it's so it certainly drives the value up and up and up, and I guess that's maybe as the value of Bitcoin rises, that will be just an indication of the mimetic desire for this scarce resource. But I wonder what happens when I'm not quite sure. I'd have to think about that one for about a year and get back to you. But that's my initial thought.
No, yeah, it's I'm not sure where I stand on it either in terms of the way that it affects desire and what I think is going to happen in the future. I have invested a small percentage of my net worth into Bitcoin, but I don't know what's going to happen. And the way that your book has introduced mimetic desire and the concept of mimetic desire into my knowledge base is making me think more and more about, okay, there are things that people desire and everything kind of gets supercharged for better or worse with scarcity. So if I want to start a podcast, I am influenced by other podcasters in my space, and probably the ones that are more like me, so smaller to mid-tier podcasters, are having more of an influence on my thinking than the celebrities like you talk about in the book. Like Joe Rogan's not really having an effect on like the day-to-day of how I'm feeling, but if I see another podcaster that has a similar audience size that's maybe doing an episode a week more than me, or is doing research in a different way, that might cause me to be like, wait, am I doing it the right way? But there's no limit to the amount of podcasts that can be in existence right now. So someone can always create another podcast. And so it's not really a scarce resource, but something like Bitcoin, where people seem like the interest in Bitcoin has spiked recently, and the supply is fixed at this certain amount. It's exciting and scary to think about what may happen in the future. Yeah,
I agree, and I think that the cap on the number of Bitcoins is its most important feature. I think that's why other currencies are kind of following in step with that. So and they're going to become harder and harder to mine. And I think that scarcity is driving a lot of mimetic desire for Bitcoin. So, one of the important points here, and, the people that are actually the earliest adopters of my book, or basically, or who are seeing the biggest connections basically so far, are people that are in the investment community. I didn't actually see that coming. I wasn't sure, but it's definitely people that think seriously about investments, because they're like, the objective and fundamental analysis, like the kind they always try to do on CNBC, like trying to explain the rise or fall of an asset, like based on its cash flow and like basic fundamental metrics, only gets you so far.
Yeah.
It's like they're like scratching their heads, like trying to explain like the crazy spike in Tesla in 2019, 2020. And just like, if you don't understand that mimesis is real, then like you'll just never be able to kind of understand these movements on the upside and on the downside. So I think it's just it's a mental model which, when paired with other mental models and ways of seeing the world, like adds this really important missing piece. And I think it's most apparent in investments and in the markets.
Yeah, you mentioned the flywheel effect that Jim Collins talks about with business, and you apply that to mimetic desire, and the basic fundamentals of the concept is that you can apply momentum in business, and then depending on what sort of facet you're working on, if you keep pushing that flywheel, you keep pushing that aspect of the business and the business in general, eventually it'll get to a point where momentum takes over and you don't have to push as hard to make the wheel spin, and eventually momentum takes over. And so it's this whole kind of feedback of force and action and momentum, and mimetic desire and the flywheel effect come together in an interesting way in the stock market, because you can see the momentum of decision making in real time with stock prices, and how when it gets to a certain level, the price of the stock combined with the conversations people are having online, and just like the trendiness of the stock as well in real time, the more people start to talk about it, the more people desire it. There comes this point where the momentum seems to push a stock well above what it above what the actual worth of the company may be. And once it gets to a certain point, it seems like the rational investor argument no longer applies. You're not dealing with something rational. You're dealing with thousands and possibly millions of people making a decision based off of what other people want, or what other people may be investing in, or seeing certain things happen online. And so it's a fascinating mix of all those things kind of coming together: the flywheel, the mimetic desire, and the stock market.
Yeah, I mean, you get stocks that, the narratives are so important to the stock market. And there was a narrative that was spreading, like in the Wall Street Bets subreddit and stuff, that a lot of people didn't know about until after the stock took off. And then you get, the more people start talking about a stock, the more people desire it and desire to buy it, and that just fueled this crazy situation earlier this year, as you know. So it's almost like mimesis like fuels mimesis. And I don't know if you're on Clubhouse or not, but I saw the same thing happening with the app. Like, there were a bunch of people all got onto Clubhouse like around the same time as they kind of like opened things up, like super late last year, early this year, and there were like people on Clubhouse all just talking about Clubhouse, and it was like this like crazy rise. It seemed like everybody all of a sudden, I just look on it and it's like, well, everybody I know is now on Clubhouse. This happened in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about it, to the point where I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're on Clubhouse talking about Clubhouse. Like,
yeah.
And then it just seemed to totally drop off. Like, I haven't used it in 3 months. So it was like this, like, it was like a stock to me. Like a stock that has like this meteoric rise that everybody's talking about. And then, the momentum started to like swing in the other direction, and people started to abandon it even faster than they joined in some cases. So I don't know what the future is of that app. I got nothing against it, but I just have noticed a lot of mimetic desire, right, for various social media platforms, and it's like a key piece of why they take off or why they don't.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full uncut 2+ hour episodes of the AUXORO podcast, plus gain access to 2 bonus episodes every month at auxoro.supercast.tech. Link is also in the description. Thank you so much for supporting quality content from independent creators like myself. Cheers.